Start the time. Hey Trojans, my name is Davis Humphrey, and today we're going to be talking about globalization through the lens of social theory. In my introduction, it's laid out as often as our weekly module objectives are. We're going to begin by defining the concept of globalization. Globalization, think about the idea of a growing interconnectedness of the world's economies, cultures, and institutions through a flow of goods, ideas, people, and these flows are not moving at the same time or at the same rate. I believe sports have now become one of the most visible areas of globalization, linking nations, corporations, and audiences through shared competition and media with Durkheim and his religion as a social fact. He did not believe in the supernatural, but the social processes, beliefs, rituals, and symbols that create this collective consciousness and cohesion. We see this in sport by these mega events, the Olympics and the World Cup. These global church movements, if you will, producing this collective efforts across the borders. The flags and anthems and ceremonies are serving as these sacred symbols, as we talked about in the slide before. In Weber and his power of bureaucracy and spirit of capitalism, there was this hierarchy and specialization of rule-bound offices that enable rational legal authority. And once created, they persist. In sport, you see this through analytics, salary caps, VAR, as you see in the illustration, seating. They control and colonize sports life world as the iron cage of efficiency. FIFA and NBA have their office hierarchies that great authority and are technically driven in expertise and organizing the global schedules of eligibility and discipline. With Mills and the Power Elite. This is a small group of internet elite, coordinates decisions across military, corporations, and political institutions. These higher circles have this shared background and circulating roles, consolidating control over these national priorities. Um, they often challenge the democratic method by their only reflecting the elite interest and not mass participation. With sport, you have these governing bodies, state, and sponsors who create this transnational power, choosing the hosts, rules, and narratives. They control what we watch, when, and how, aligning a spectacle with elite profit. The executives move for whatever benefits them. That promotes the elite cohesion. Harvey and the neoliberalism, restoring the class power after the economic crisis or the crisis of the 1970s. You have the key mechanism along with the state power that secure markets for capital. The ideology is masked with the widening inequality and consolidation of wealth among the small group of elite, masking true class restoration. Harvey and globalization in sport. You have the public goods, which are stadiums and development pipelines, turned to private ownership and development with these naming rights. These host cities, they do really well at place marketing, turning the urban policy into growth coalitions centered on sport, which is textbook neoliberal urbanism. We have Wallerstein and world systems theory. We have the core, semi-periphery, and periphery hierarchy. That where you have advancement of finance and dominating value capture. You have supply and labor and raw materials. You have the intermediate, which is exploits and is exploited. Um, and you see this in our next slide with the talent chains and the youth from the peripheral region are scouted to go up to the core leagues. The surplus value is then in media and merchandising, which occurs in the core. The peripheral wants to climb status, but assumes the cost. Regional confederations, domestic leagues can retain the value locally, but the systemic pool they have to go through concentrates profits and remains it solely at the core. The conclusion, which theory best explains true globalization, is helpful. I believe it's Wallerstein's world systems theory. It explains the long run systemic inequalities that you face in the structural flow and value across nations, not just contemporary trends, but those for century long term patterns. Um, and it's a surplus move. It anticipates that global rules and infrastructures today, the media rights, supply chains will be designed to reproduce core advantage, matching observable and dynamics across the sectors. The talent from the pipelines go from periphery sectors to the core leagues, apparel and equipment manufacturing, in Periphery, and versus the brand deals and naming rights that captured in the core. And this is that unequal exchange that you can see just at a little bit of a smaller scale centered around sport. And then these are the references that I use for my presentation. Thank you so much.